The curse of Rachel Zegler strikes again. With the release of the new prequel to the Hunger Games series, The Ballot of Songbirds and Snakes, Zegler continues her streak of never turning a profit in a movie ever, and continuing to crater in the ratings with every film she makes.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
I'm Troy for Marks on TV, and today we're talking about the disastrous first weekend of the Hunger Games, The Ballot of Songbirds and Snakes. Now, let the games begin. The links to the articles I'm covering can be found linked in the video description. From bounding into comics, Rachel Zegler's The Hunger Games performs worse than Brie Larson's The Marvels at Thursday night previews. Rachel Zegler's The Hunger Games, Ballot of Songbirds and Snakes brought in a lower take of the box office in its Thursday night previews compared to Brie Larson's The Marvels. I corrected some errors here in the writing. Variety reports that Zegler's The Hunger Games, Ballot of Songbirds and Snakes only grossed $5.75 million in previews on Thursday night. That's nearly $1 million less than what Brie Larson and The Marvels did. That film grossed $6.6 million at Thursday night previews just a week ago.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Bad.
Interestingly, The Hunger Games, The Ballot of Songbirds and Snakes was projected to have a better opening weekend than The Marvels. Box Office Pro adjusted their projections upwards this week, claiming the film would gross between $42 million and $55 million, and specifically predicted it would bring in $47.1 million at the domestic box office. In contrast, the outlet had adjusted their projections for The Marvels down between $35 million and $49 million right before the film arrived in theaters. The film would eventually bring in $46.1 million in its opening weekend.
Jesus Christ!
We'll get to an article about all of that here in just a few, but right now, The Ballot of Songbirds and Snakes is pulling in $98.5 million for a $100 million budget. Meanwhile, The Marvels is pulling in $161.3 million for a $274.8 million budget.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Keep in mind, these budgets are production budgets, not working in the price for advertisement, promotion, and factoring in the cut that goes to theaters. So as of now, The Ballot of Songbirds and Snakes is almost breaking even for their production budget, but that is awful. They'll still end up losing way less money than The Marvels, though. I've seen the argument from some Marvel fanboys and fangirls and Hollywood apologists that,
well, the actors' strike just ended, and the stars of these films couldn't go out and promote it.
oh, so you honestly think that sending Brie Larson and Rachel Zegler out there to have a public cringe off and be super unlikable would have actually helped these films?
Not a great plan.
Give me a damn break. Back to the article. Given these Thursday night preview numbers, it's quite likely that The Marvels might actually outperform Zegler's The Hunger Games instead of the other way around. Both films have identical tomato meter scores at 62%. They both also have similar Metascore from critics. The Marvels has a 50, while The Hunger Games, Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes has a 52. For that first part, I suppose it depends on what you mean by overperform. If you're going strictly on how much money was given to the theater for tickets, then sure, The Marvels did outperform The Hunger Games. But let's be honest, neither of these films were even in the vicinity of doing well.
This is the worst!
As for the Rotten Tomatoes scores right now, the score of The Ballot of Songbirds and Snakes sits at 62%, like the article said, but 55% for top critics. On the flip side, the audience score is actually 91% for the verified audience and 84% for all audience scores.
Weird.
For The Marvels, they too still sit at 62% for critic scores, but only 43% for top critics, an 83% verified audience score, and only a 71% for all audience scores. Let's go over to another article from Bounding into Comics before we wrap this one up. Rachel Zegler's The Hunger Games, The Ballot of Songbirds and Snakes receives worst critic scores of entire franchise.
Damn!
The Hunger Games, The Ballot of Songbirds and Snakes, starring Rachel Zegler, has received the worst critic score of the entire Hunger Games franchise. I already went over the Rotten Tomatoes scores, so I'll skip down the article a bit. In comparison, The Hunger Games received an 84% tomato meter score from 318 reviews. It received a 7.3 out of 10 with 268 fresh reviews and 50 rotten reviews. The top critic score clocked in at 82% with an average score of 7.2 out of 10 with 64 fresh reviews and 14 rotten reviews. The top critics gave it 89%, the average review of 7.5 out of 10. It had 68 fresh reviews and 8 rotten reviews. The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 received a 70% tomato meter score. The average rating was 6.3 out of 10 with 213 fresh reviews and 93 rotten reviews. The top critics gave it a 66% with an average rating of 6.10 out of 10. It had 51 fresh reviews and 26 rotten ones. The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 also had a 70% tomato meter score. The average rating was 6.5 out of 10 with 205 fresh reviews and 89 rotten reviews.
I have several questions.
The top critic score clocked in at 68% with an average rating of 6.4 out of 10. It had 49 fresh reviews and 23 rotten reviews. Over on Metacritic, Zegler's The Ballot of Songbirds and Snakes is the worst performing film in the franchise. It has a Metascore of 52 from 32 critics. There are 14 positive reviews, 12 mixed reviews, and 6 negative reviews. On top of these poor critic scores, the film is predicted to have the worst opening weekend in franchise history as well. Box Office Pro projects the film will only gross between $42 million and $55 million in its opening weekend, as we covered. Specifically, they project the film will gross $47.1 million. The outlet previously indicated the film would gross between $97 and $157 million in its entire domestic run.
What are your weaknesses?
I don't have any ass.
All 4 of the previous films had opening weekends above $102 million. Mockingjay Part 2 had the lowest opening weekend of $102.6 million. Mockingjay Part 1 brought in $121.8 million. The original film grossed $152.5 million in its opening weekend, and the Catching Fire sequel did $158 million. There's a bit more to the article, but we already went over most of that, comparing budgets between the new Hunger Games and the Marvels. Either way, this has got to be an incredibly weak box office weekend, or 2 weeks rather, with some horribly reviewed films making no damn money at all. That being said, I've seen all the Hunger Games films, and this one looked kind of interesting. I'll watch it, but I'm not paying a damn dime for it, if you catch my drift. I'll say that. I think Brie Larson, as insufferable and annoying as she is, could still be bankable. She does well in smaller indie films and movies where she's not the star. She's not a bad actress at all, so I don't think that her career is exactly over or anything. Plus, as long as Disney Marvel has her under contract, they'll keep trying to make Captain Marvel a thing. Stop trying to make fetch happen, Disney. It's never gonna happen.
Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
As far as Rachel Zegler, I don't know exactly when her career is going to be officially over, but I have a feeling that the dawn is breaking. Look at her short filmography so far. West Side Story was a huge bomb, one of the only flops for the legendary Steven Spielberg. Shazam! Fury of the Gods was a failure. I kinda liked it, but it was yet another DC car crash at the box office. Now, we have her Hunger Games prequel that's looking to crash and burn hard. She's also got 3 films locked and loaded in post-production. There's something called Spellbound coming out next year, where she's lending her voice to a character. Then, there's the ever-delayed Titanic-level shipwreck of Disney's Snow White live-action remake. That may be the biggest money-losing film in Disney history, but we'll see. And then, finally, there's a disaster comedy movie called Y2K coming out heaven knows when. I think after those 3 movies have dropped on audiences like a steaming turd and all 3 lose money, Zegler's Hollywood career will be dead and buried. Then she can go to be a professional activist or something. It would probably pay her better than Hollyweird. But then again, I'm giving Hollywood studios at least some credit for brains. That town oddly fixates on certain actors and then shoves them down your throat, whether or not they're bankable. She might be one of them.
Well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions.
Comment down below with your thoughts and opinions. Did you pay to see The Hunger Games, The Ballot of Songbirds and Snakes? Did you pay to see The Marvels? If so, did you like either one of them? Do you think that the curtain is closing on the career of Rachel Zegler, or does she still have many movies left ahead of her? Let me know down in the comments section. Also, please share this video around to everyone you know, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click that little bell to be notified every time we post brand new content. I've been Troy from Marks on Movies, and we'll see you next time.
It's Hollywood, baby.